Greetings fans! In today's video I'm going to tell you the top 5 things that I wish I knew before I got a mangrove. In this video, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Short, sharp, quick, 5 things that I wish I knew. No messing around. Coming in at number 5 is its enclosure size. Now I wish I knew a little bit more about the activity levels of mangroves before I got them. As you can see, Mango's that tiny little speck there. She's in quite a big enclosure. Mango's currently housed in an 8 foot long, 3 foot deep, 3 foot tall enclosure. And if we pan across, don't mind the dirty glass, purely because it doesn't come out because it's too heavy on top. She's not very big. Now, Mango here is 2.5-ish foot long. She's not as long as her enclosure, and her enclosure's 3 foot long internally. So I'd say she's about 14 inches snout to vent. Is this enclosure okay for her? Yeah. Is she laying me eggs regularly? Yeah. Is this enclosure okay to meet all the basic needs and requirements for a mangrove? Yeah. Do I want her in bigger? Yeah. Is that just me and my brain? Yeah. Now everyone's probably like, well, what enclosure size would you have? I think Mango is going to go in a 6x4x4 or a 7x4x4 when I do my upgrades, but I don't know exactly yet. But an 8x4x4 would be incredible. 6 or 7 long, 4 deep, 5 or 6 tall would be incredible. Eventually, as money, time, space allows me to, all of my mangroves will be getting walk-ins. But again, this is stuff I wish I knew. So watch this video and learn from my mistakes. They need a lot of space. Coming in at number 4. Temperature. Now I've done a whole video on the basics for a baby mangrove and I go over a lot of temperature in there, so I'm not going to go too much into it here. But online, it is rubbish for temperature gradients. Online will tell you to keep mangroves at 40 to 45, and that's a good website. Most say 35 or 90 degrees Fahrenheit. 120, 55 degrees. They will bask. Again, we're going to go to Mango. As you'll find out why in the next tip. But this is her basking spot. She has a big basking spot, which I need to clean. But she has a big basking spot, and it covers the entirety of her body. She has a deep heat, an incandescent, and a halogen, so she can pick exactly what she wants to use. You can see the basking spot is longer than her. When you have big lizards, the basking spot has to cover the entirety of the lizard, so they don't end up with burns. So if she wants to lay a bit more, she can, but this is her favourite spot. This is actually the hottest basking spot. That one gets to about 57 degrees. The lights have not long come on, hence why she's just sitting under it. But as you can see, she doesn't care. But the whole point is of a basking spot, this top bit here of this nest bin is hot. The rest of the enclosure gets cold. Now, something with mangroves that I didn't realise that I learned is they seek out cool spots. Your mangroves will seek out areas of even like 20 degrees Celsius in the day. See, Mango's enclosure has an ambient temperature from 20 degrees all the way up to 57. She can pick what she wants. Nighttime drops, if they get to 16, I'm not really fast. If they get to, I like it to be around 17, but when I'm wintering them, this is a whole different thing. I'm going on tangents. There's seasons. But I don't keep them at like 23, 24 degrees at night. They need the drop. And I just want to clarify, when I'm talking about seasons, I give them a wet season, a dry season, a hot season, and a cold season. I season them throughout the year. So when I'm at winter, they get a lot drier. I don't get them wet because you don't want it to be wet and cold. So they get a lot drier, and then they get down to like, at night, like 16 degrees Celsius some nights. And then during the summer, it's around 21, 22, just because the ambients are hotter. And this would all come into the care guide. This isn't the top 5, but I just wanted to clarify. Coming in at number 3, don't get wild caught, get captive bred if you can. And if you can't get captive bred, don't expect to see them. So here we have my beautiful juvenile mangrove enclosure with 2 mangroves in there. Wow, as you can see, it's not even that dense. We've got a couple of cork tubes, a couple of hides they can get on here. But where are the mangroves? Well, I'm here to tell you that wild-caught animals that you've only had for a few months, you will never see. They dig a lot. They live in burrows. I think a video that I've already released, the most recent video to this, I actually dig these two out, do some health checks and sexing them, because you don't see them. If you're expecting to see mangroves and they're wild caught, you won't. Now, obviously, if you keep them in absolute rubbish conditions, you will see them. But if you keep them in a big space with lots of deep soil that they can burrow in, because they are fossorial as babies, because it's a lot safer down there, cork tubes and bits and bobs to climb on, you'll never see them. And I know you're probably thinking, well, what's the point? If I'm never going to see them, what's the point in getting them? Exactly! You just don't see them. When you get a wild animal, the best thing you can do is just put it in an enclosure where it feels safe, secure, it's going to eat, and just leave it be. Until eventually, after 6, 8 months to a year, it's established. Then you can slowly start to remove things from the enclosure and slowly start to get them to get used to you and get used to being in captivity. Because, of course, we don't want a captive that is scared of us. I deliberately set up an exoterra setup to show everyone how the minimum to care for a mangrove would be. I'll link that in the description. But as you can see again, no mangroves. No mangroves at all. This is just how it is. You don't, and even this enclosure is not very, I have cork tubes where I can see them, climbable walls, but they live in this little burrow. They live underground. Mangroves are fossorial. Give them soil to dig. I do think we have a responsibility as reptile keepers to make sure that our captives are happy, comfortable and secure, especially if they're wild caught. So that's number 3. Don't expect to see your animal, especially when it's young and especially when it's wild caught. Though, I do have a treat for you guys. We have one chilling in a cork tube. Hello, friend. But even again, this enclosure, let me zoom out. This is a nice arboreal enclosure because I'm testing different ways to see what they prefer. But we have cork tubes that face us. We have multiple. A cork tube it can get in, but then also deep soil that holds a burrow. Key to success. I guess I'm going to add that in point 3 as well. Deep soil that holds burrows. You need to have that for mangroves because they all burrow. I've deliberately found the sun for this point because number 2 is the lighting. So we are back in my juvenile enclosure. I don't know if I said, but this enclosure is 6 foot long, 3 foot deep, 3 foot tall, and it houses 2 juvenile mangroves. I need to change their water. That was clean yesterday. But lighting. So I have a halogen here and I have a deep heat there just because I like to give them the option. Then I have LED spots focused on both of the basking spots, 6,500 Kelvin. So when they bask, they're getting this nice bright daylight. Of course, UVB, all animals, reptiles, whatever, need UVB. I don't care, I'll die on that hill. And then I have these 2, just cheapy, 6,500 Kelvin LED strip bars. What that does is it gives me an incredibly bright enclosure. And what I do is I deliberately force it all to one side. So this side, I get the shady, sort of like dense, jungly. And obviously because they dig and they have hides and they have cork, they can get away from the UVI as well as the light. So all this side is a dark, dingy. All of this side is nice and bright. Exactly the same here. Same video that I go over the lighting. But I actually have a Jungle Dawn Arcadia one in here because it's a lot better than those cheapy ones. But I have the halogen, have the LED spot, have the Arcadia T5, and I have the LED. And I actually show in this video like what it looks like if you just have like a halogen on and bits and bobs. It's a good video, check it out. Again, it's linked below. But yeah, nice and bright. Again, I have the Jungle Dawn LED, the UVB, the halogen, and the LED spot. Super bright. I don't just have it in one, I'm doing it in every single one of them. I say that, Mango doesn't have an LED spot. She has LED strip bars, and she has a UVB, and obviously the 3 different lights. What I might do is change this one out for an LED, because she always just seems to bask under this one anyway, don't you, Mango? Look how lovely her colours are. Not only will the lighting increase their colour, it will increase their activity level, and it won't make them depressed, you know? So if you think you're an animal that's used to just seeing, running around in the bright jungle, obviously we all think of rainforests as like, what's the word I'm thinking of? We all think of rainforests as like dingy lighting and stuff, but they won't be. They'll be super bright, you know, and then you get taken from the wild and you get put into a dark box with nothing but a yellow glow. Make sure you give your mangroves decent lighting. Tip number 1, do your research. This video has probably been a bit sarcastic and a bit tones. That's just my British mannerisms. But general seriousness, mangroves are an amazing animal. but they're really not for everyone. And you see these people with them on Facebook that have them in rubbish conditions, and mangroves experience this stress phase where if they're fresh imports and they're just sort of thrown into captivity, they almost appear social and they'll come out in bits and bobs and they'll tongue feed, but the reality is they're being underheated and they're in high stress. They're just acting strange. Now, me and my boy Will Exotic, we speak a lot, and him and I both agree that people with depression, you don't know that they have depression, and then they function normally, but inside they're dying. As someone who suffers with mental health, if you watch my channel, you know I speak about it openly. I know all that all too well, and that's why I try and give as big as I can and illuminate it the best I can. Whereas your mangrove might be acting completely normal, but it could be depressed. So for me, just make sure that you're doing everything you can. You read every care guide you can, you watch every video you can, and you go through every single one, write everything down, and through the correlations, join the dots, except for the basking spot, because I can tell you for a fact, they don't want it any colder than 40. 45, 55, somewhere between there, you're basking, you'll be good. But mangroves also are aggy. If you've watched this channel and you've seen my Instagram, Mango, she does try and attack me. I don't try to force handle her. I don't touch her. She doesn't like it. She'll come out, she'll run around my entire reptile room for food, and that's how I interact with her. I enjoy that sort of time. The 5 juveniles I have, I never see them. Never see them. So when I do see them, they run off. They're scared of me. Having a mangrove is not for everyone. If you want an animal that you can hold, that you can interact with, and you want it to be highly social, the reality is majority of the mangroves will not fit that niche. If you want an incredibly beautiful animal that's going to exhibit natural behaviours in an exciting vivaria, look at me getting all posh, mangroves could be for you. I'm happy to answer all and every question either in the comments or message me on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram. I will help you on your journey. I'm very passionate about mangroves and how badly they get cared for. I am not an expert. I'm just someone who's been figuring it out over the last 3 years through trials and error, through Mango, and now she is rewarding me with regular clutches every 90 days. So far, so good with the mangroves. The imports I've had for the last 4 months have really, really grown. The colours have started to pop and they're all doing incredible. I'm going to step out of the light. I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to share what I've learned through trial and error and bring everyone up with me. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, say you did or didn't enjoy it, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.